What is up, everybody, and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Tattoo Critiques. I'm Pony Lawson, and what we like to do on this show is talk about tattoos. Whether you're an artist, collector, or you just enjoy looking at tattoos in general, we're here to talk about them all. Remember, guys, these are just my initial thoughts, my honest opinions. Take them with a grain of salt. No reason to be angry or write me hate mail. This week we've got a batch of photos that tattooers had sent in themselves, so let's not waste any more time and just get right into it. First tattoo sent in is from John Matte. And John, you sent in this green severed zombie hand type tattoo that is really dope. Right off the bat, I do enjoy looking at this tattoo and everything that this has to offer. The line weight is nice. You've got some thicker lines in there as well as some thin lines. You know, you've got the thicker lines around the banner that's running in front of the hand. It's really showing that depth. The black that you used in this tattoo is very strong, and it's 100% black. So the contrast that this tattoo is bringing to the table is on point. You've got this nice mid-tone green, and then you've got a little bit of the skin tone peeking through. So the traditional values that you have in here are really shining. The blood on this tattoo is exceptional. You know, a lot of the times people really cheapen out when it comes to the blood, and they'll just really quickly work through it. Where this looks like it has been soaked into the ribbon. You know, there's some dark red parts, some lighter red parts, and it just looks overall bloodstained. You've got some really nice bends and folds in this ribbon as well that just help it feel crinkly, you know, and not like a smooth ribbon or something like that. I am a big fan of the light that's occurring on the backside of this tattoo as well. The blue that's shining over, you know, through the black and the green. That backlighting really helps sell that three-dimensional shape. That sort of feature was made popular by an artist named Tony Savaro years ago, and a lot of people still use it today because it is something that just really helps your tattoo look a lot cooler. If it were me, I would have added a little bit darker blue into that as well, just to help it sell even more three-dimensional, but where it sits is totally acceptable and cool. If we look down toward the bottom of the tattoo, you've got all these three-dimensional shapes happening, you know, you've got the three-dimensional bones, the three-dimensional skin tear, the muscle, the blue veins. There's a lot of stuff happening, but you managed to keep it very clean. So you can obviously tell you understand the way lighting and shadow work. You can tell there's a highlight happening on one side, a backlight happening on the other side, and a shadow occurring through the middle. So that's actually what happens with light and shadow. Overall, solid tattoo, John Matte. Like I said, the one thing I would like to see is just maybe a little bit of extra darker blue or something like that in the backlight. But other than that, super solid. Thank you so much for sending that in. Next, we've got a tattoo sent in from Hugo Matte. Hugo, you sent in this lion tattoo on an arm, and right away I'm not the biggest fan of, and here's why. First off, it seems like this tattoo is just kind of a jumbled mess of a few different images all slapped together. It doesn't look like there was much thought put into this composition or design from the get. It seems like there's a part on the lion where there was supposed to be some skin tone running through it. It seems like it was outlined, but maybe you just shaded right over that because I can still clearly see the outline there. Normally those skin tone lines are used to show flow through the tattoo or anatomy. They give a nice sense of direction through an entire tattoo. Since you missed putting one of them in there and it doesn't really flow with the body, it really just missed the mark. The flowers up at the top don't really have any solid structure. It kind of just seems like that they were outlined fairly quickly in there. These petals have to attach to something, but right now it just doesn't seem like that's the case. As if I were to unfold these things, it would just fall apart. Back to the negative space section, the line that runs through, you know, this could appear more strong, and it seems like it started off more strong toward the bottom of the lion's face. You know, you kind of have this gray wash outline in there, but as we get up toward the top, it just seems like you almost gave up or just got a little bit lazy with it because it just doesn't have that same strength running through it. You know, you've got some of these lion's hairs running through it on the top, and it just doesn't seem as clean as it does on the bottom. Features such as the nose, eyes, and mouth are very important parts of this tattoo. They're the main focal feature of this, so that's what you want to be strong. And right now that nose just kind of falls flat, it's a little weak, and the eyes just aren't hitting it either. There's a lot of misdirection in the shading everywhere. Normally you would shade in the direction of which the hair is flowing. Some parts of this tattoo I can see that, most of the tattoo I can't. A good example of that is above his left eye. You can see these needle marks, kind of how it pulls away from the eye. You'd like to see that everywhere. You want to see that shape and flow of those lines. But as it sits right now, it just seems kind of very harsh and chunky. So my advice would be to focus on a lot smaller tattoos for now. You know, if this were me, I would have just maybe focused on that flower at the bottom. I would have made that thing perfect, had her come back for the lion's face, and then had her come back for a third session for the flowers on top. It just seems like right now you're you're kind of biting off a bit more than you can chew. So thanks, Hugo, for letting me talk about your tattoo. Next up, we've got Tony Wayne with a couple tattoos, and he works out of Imperial Tattoo Company. I can immediately tell that you have a certain style to your work. You know, if we look at the leaves and the outlines on the first tattoo, we can see the exact same thing happening on the second tattoo as well. So I'd say that you've developed a style that you can immediately recognize and you've developed to become your own. You've got this nice pepper spit shading in the background that normally I would say I would like to see a softer shading in the background, but I think it really fits this style overall. And I think that's just mainly because of those big bold outlines. That donut highlight is so cool. I love the pink vivid color of this donut, and you've got just this little bit of white in the bottom that, you know, lets you know that that icing is kind of curling over the bread. The cassette tape on the other tattoo has a very nice perspective to it. You know, it's got a very three-dimensional feel, and I like how it's kind of cradled in between those two leaves. The actual letters to mixed tape itself are very clean and legible. You know, you could have gotten away with being a little scratchy, but you didn't. You know, you made these letters look as clean as possible, and I applaud you for it. And you decided to use a 3-round liner or a single round liner on the inside of the mixed tape for the smaller details. Again, something that gives this tattoo a nice sense of depth. So overall, Tony, I absolutely love your tattoos. I think you've really found your style, which a lot of tattoo artists struggle to do. So congrats on that. Thank you so much for sending in your work and letting me talk about it. All right, the next tattoo is sent in from John Manning. John Manning, you sent in this realistic Dolly tattoo. Right off the bat, it's another tattoo that I enjoy looking at. My eyes get carried all the way around this, you know, with the silhouettes of the butterflies, I think are a nice addition to this tattoo. And technically, you've got a lot of very smooth shading happening here. There are a couple things that I'd like to talk about. Let's break it apart. The first thing I'm not a huge fan of is the nostril. You know, if we zoom in, we can tell that this isn't quite a nostril looking hole here, but it kind of looks like a slit. Like I said, I do love the butterfly silhouettes that you have in the back. I do wish that the one on the right had a little bit smoother shading transition coming from it. It just kind of hits that skin tone too fast, in my opinion. I like how you tied the tattoo all together with this bottom butterfly as well, with the 2 eyeballs in it. It's a nice addition. And like I said, you've got some smooth shading happening here. You know, if we look on the underside of his chin, going up to his chin, in through the ears, under the nose, and things like that, you can tell you really know how to handle a smooth shade with a tattoo machine. I just think you're struggling with that second to lightest tone. You have your dark tones down, your medium tones, but there just seems to be that transitional tone that I think you're lacking, that I think would work very well on a tattoo like this. The eyes do look sharp. I think you did an incredible job with the eyes. Even with the eyebrows themselves, you got some nice little hair strands coming off it, and it just really helps sell the believability. I wish the tattoo weren't blurry around the entire outside. It's something I can look past, but I would like to see the detail on the other eyes as well. I just can't see anything with them because they're super blurry. There's a little piece on this tattoo that I want to kind of bring attention to that I wish a lot of other tattooers would do, and that's the outline on the outside of the nose. It just gives this nice sharp edge to the bridge, the outside of that nose, that I think a lot of tattooers would have probably tried to use a mag with, and it just wouldn't have seemed as sharp, or it wouldn't have seemed as three-dimensional. So I do love that right side of the nose, how sharp that feels. Overall, solid tattoo. A few small things I would work on, mainly that, you know, second to lightest, the lightest transitional tone. But thank you so much, John, for sending that in. Okay, the next tattoo is sent in from Cesar Perez out of Orlando, Florida. And Cesar, you sent in this person wearing a suit and jacket, holding a jacket in the rain. It doesn't seem too practical. I'm not sure if you're supposed to wear another jacket on the outside of a suit jacket. I'm not that fancy, but I do know if it's raining, you should probably put on your jacket. His head is in the clouds, it's storming, so it seems like he's having a bad day. And technically, I feel like this tattoo could use some work. The shading and the lines that you have running through this tattoo just seem kind of harsh. They're almost too dark. It just seems like the same throughout the entire piece, and it doesn't seem to be like any real soft folds going on. There seems to be a lack of barrier in between the jacket that he's wearing and the jacket that he's holding. There's really no strong line or any strong shadow to tell those two apart. I do wish there was some sort of gray wash outline around these lightning bolts at the top, something just to hold that white in, because when the white heals, especially after a few years, you know, you might lose that detail in there, and if we lose the lightning, then it's just gonna look like his head is in a pot of mashed potatoes. It just doesn't seem like this tattoo is set up for longevity. You know, if we lose some of those smaller details, if we lose the white, it's just not going to read the way it's supposed to. I think you could use some work on the rain as well. You know, you've got a couple dashes in through here, and I can obviously tell it's rain, but I just don't think it's doing this tattoo justice. So overall, there are just some small things here and there that I would work on or add just to make this tattoo legible for years to come. That being small, thin, gray wash outlines around the lightning bolts, maybe some extra shades in the suit, some softer mid-tone shades, just so these creases don't seem so harsh. Add those things in there, and I think you'll really have a solid tattoo. So thank you so much, Cesar, for sending that in. So that's going to wrap it up for this week's critiques, but before we go, let's talk about my favorite of the episode, which was sent in by Tony Wayne. We've seen a lot of really good tattoos this week, but the reason I chose yours, Tony, was because it looks like you've got your own fresh, unique style. Developing your own style is something I think every artist should strive to do. If I were to see another tattoo out in the wild that looked similar to this, I would probably guess that it's yours. So not only do you have your own unique style, but your technical ability is also on point. You know, we're not seeing any little holidays here and there. All the lines are very solid, and the color is perfectly saturated. So that's why I chose yours as this week's winner. Congratulations, Tony. All right, that's going to bring us to our featured tattooer of the week, which is Victoria Lee, and she hails from Beijing, China. Victoria is known for her ultra-realistic black and gray tattoos, but it seems like she can do just about anything. There's not a tattoo on her page that you can find that's less than extraordinary. So if you're a fan of the Renaissance style, portrait work, anything in the black and gray realm, be sure to stop by her page, give her a follow, and let her know I sent you. So thank you guys so much for sticking around to the very end of the episode. If you like what you're seeing, be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, share this video with your friends, and let us know if there's any new spicy content you'd like to see in the comments below. See y'all next week.